because it peels off and goes on the back window. It says, University of South Vietnam School of Warfare.
So why did you volunteer?
Hey, hold on.
Oh, whoops.
That man
Oh.
went straight into question.
That man was.
This is,
Yeah, he didn't even like.
our guys are running a regular patrol, and they're passing a bunch of the women that are going to market, and that's how they went to market. They carried all that stuff, and that stuff is heavy, and they had a special way that they carried it, with throwing the hips on the side and the way they walked. And we tried carrying that stuff, we didn't carry it, because they had grown up carrying that stuff, and man, it was tough. But that's them going to market. I'm gonna go get bread and milk and stuff, and I'll tell you what. Oh, yeah. This is a picture of a Billy Chief's home where him and his family lived. That'd be like a mayor of the town. And the NBA called him out on the front porch here at night, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Didn't like what he was doing. They set up a claymore mine in front of it, and they popped it and blew him to pieces with it in front of his family. And then they had the entire village walk by and look at his body. And a claymore mine is about like that, about that high, and curved. It's got like 750 or 1,000 little steel ball bearings in it, like the size of buckshot or something like that. And traveling at over about 5,000 feet per second. And they hit some, and they're fans, so it comes up like that. So you fire and you take down 2 dozen people at one time with it. But they set that right in front of him and just ripped his body to pieces with it. And this is the guys who are just messing around. This old man, we used to give him pipe tobacco and stuff for smoking stuff. And a couple weeks after this picture was taken, we heard an explosion about 3 o'clock in the morning. So the next morning we went out, checked it, and it was him. At night he was going out setting booby traps to blow us up with. So, he was, we give him pipe tobacco and candy for the kids and stuff. And every night he'd go out to try to kill us. So, And these are headbands that we wore. We call them sweatbands so we could put them on. And the senior NCOs and officers would yell at us because we think, well, it's to help keep the sweat out of our eyes and stuff. But really, because they thought it was all hippie stuff. So, and basically it was, and we just wore them as a little rebellion thing against them, just to tick them off. But well, that's about it. This is the 173rd Airborne Brigade I was with in Vietnam. It's a dress patch. That's when I came back, I went to the 82nd Airborne Division. So that's that one. That's the All-American, stands for All-American. If anybody knows anything about military history, if you ever heard of Sergeant York from World War I, the 82nd Infantry Division was what he was in. And then beginning in 1941, 42, they turned that from an infantry unit into an airborne infantry unit. And then they fought in Europe too. World War II.
So
Anybody
question.
got any questions? Yeah.
So is it okay if I ask you a personal question?
Sure, go ahead.
What did you do to survive in Vietnam?
Just paid attention to what our NCOs were teaching us. And they're the ones that really kept you alive over there and stuff. And didn't do anything stupid if we could possibly help it, because sometimes you do stupid things when you don't realize you're doing it. And they would correct you immediately, and you just learn as you're going. And basically that was about it. Some guys learned, some guys didn't.
So why did you volunteer?
I thought it was my duty. All the men that I grew up with, I was in Boy Scouts when I was a kid. Growing up, all the adult males that I knew had been in one branch of the military or another during World War II, and I just thought it was something I had to do.
Do you have any friends that survived the war?
Any friends?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a bunch of them. Yeah. I've got a couple of them that I still correspond with over the internet. But Sergeant Green and once in a while Sergeant Manning. But those are the only two that I still know that are back here. But yeah, there was a lot of them that came back. I met some of them that came into Fort Bragg, the 82nd Airborne Division, after I got there, they did their time and was sent back to the 82nd too. They just happened to run in on the streets. So we go out and have a few beers together and stuff like that, so, yeah. Good.
How many friends in Vietnam did you have?
How many friends? At one time, I think the largest our platoon ever was like 32 guys. Most of them I didn't know. Most of the time, we ran like 22 people in the platoon. Supposed to be 45 guys in our platoon, and we only had 22 at the most. And one time we were down to like 13 and then 9 until we got replacements in.
Who's this guy?
That's Gilmer. Him and I were playing around. Well, she used to talk and said, we never had any race problems over there because we all settled in gentlemen, you know. So we're playing around with the machetes, you know. Yeah.
How did the drafting system actually work? Like, did they go to people's houses, knock on their doors?
No, you had to sign up for the draft at the post office when you were 18. And, or you had to go to the county building and sign up there. And most of the guys that served in the combat units in Vietnam were all volunteers. They enlisted. Like I was what you call RA, regular Army. That meant you enlisted in the Army. We had a regular Army. The draftees on their service numbers, it was US, for the United States Army. That meant you got drafted. ER was enlisted reserve, and you enlisted in the Army Reserve, got called up or whatever, or you volunteered for it. And then the other one was NG. We used to get them about, the NG stood for not going. They were in the National Guard. Or no goods, call them both that. Robert?
Even though you can't really go back in time now, if now what you know now, how did you approach the war?
Probably about the same as I did then. I probably would have gone to more training before I went over. But basically, you go through all the training and stuff, you think you're well trained until you get there, and it doesn't quite work the way it did in, you know, your training days. It's a lot more intense and scary, you know. First firefight I got into, I couldn't talk. I just reacted to what the sergeant said, because I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak. My mouth was so dry, I couldn't get a word out. I couldn't talk. And it was a couple hours after that when, well, the firefight went on for about 3-4 hours, and then we finally broke contact with them, and we had mortar fire going on the whole time. And after that, it settled down and stuff. One of the old timers handed me a cigarette, said, "Here, take this." And I was sitting there like this, so you know, he gave it to me, and I was, you know, and that's how I started smoking cigarettes. He just gave it to me, said, "This will help." You know. Yes.
Is it okay if I ask you another personal question?
Sure.
How many of your friends in Vietnam did you know? Like, how many of the people from Vietnam did you know died?
That we don't know. Some of the guys were wounded, some pretty bad, were taken into the rear by helicopter, and that was the last we ever heard of them. So most of them, I think, survived. We had, at the most, maybe 10 or 15 that were killed on the battlefield. And we put them in body bags, and put them on a chopper, and they would go away. The Vietnamese and North Vietnamese soldiers that we fought, we just left them where they lay. We didn't do anything with them. We figured if their friends wanted to do something with them, they could pick them up. We just shot them and left them lay. You have any questions?
You know how many people have killed in one?
No, tried not to think of it. I didn't want to know. I didn't count on. Some people kept count, stuff like that, but you know, I figured the worst I could do was kill them and take the rest of their life away, and I didn't want to know about it. Even when I shot sniper, I didn't count. Thought it was bad luck for one thing. I just didn't want to know.
How many medals did you earn from Vietnam?
Those over there. And these here are the same things, just the different part of it. This is the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, Distinguished Unit Citation, and Presidential Unit Citation. That was awarded to our battalions or the brigade as a whole. So if you were in the brigade at the time it was issued, you know, awarded by the American government or the Vietnamese government, then, you know, you got that. And these were just the personal awards.
You want to tell them some of those stories that you told last class period about when you were the tunnel rat and then the foggy, misty day?
Yeah. You saw how big my pants were, so I was pretty thin. My shoulders were a lot wider than what my waist was, but I could get into the spider holes. And the Vietnamese are smaller than us, so the hole wasn't very big. So you slide down in there. We got this one where it was going into a bank this way, and we knew there was somebody in there, we thought. So the guys took a poncho, threw it over the hole, cut off all the light going into it. We waited a few minutes, and then I got down beside the poncho. Two guys would pull it back, and I would jump inside, and they'd cover it up right away. And I'd use my elbows and stuff and feel the sides with the sides of the tunnel board, and I'd scoot over next to them, and then listen as much as I could for breathing. I hold my breath and try. Sometimes I didn't work quite as like I thought it would, because sometimes my heart was beating so much in my head, all I could hear was thump, thump, thump. And so, you know, I would try to listen for them breathing, so I could pick them out and know where they were and stuff. Well, this one, he knew I was in there someplace. He took out a hand grenade, communist hand grenade, pulled the pin on it, and I heard the spool pop on it. And spool is that safety thing to keep it from blowing up, you know, when you don't want it to. And he threw it in the cave, the tunnel actually, hit the wall and bounced back toward it. The tunnel was set up so you came in, and then there was a wall here, and then it went this way, and then it went like that, and a wall here, and then over, and he was back behind this one. He hit the wall here, bounced back up against that other one, and kind of must have rolled toward him and blew him up. And when it blew up, it blew the poncho off, because once it blows up inside a tunnel like that, there's no air left. The pressure blows that out, and all the air goes out with it. So there's nothing in there to breathe. So I had a combo wire hooked to my foot, and as soon as that went off and everything happened, about three or four of the guys, big guys, grabbed that line and yanked me out. And I don't remember coming out, but I had a lot of dirt and bruises on me, because they didn't wait. They just grabbed that rope and whoosh, out I went. And they pulled me out, the medic came, and I laid there, got my breath back and stuff like that. My bell was rung for the rest of the day, hearing noises, you know, vibrations and stuff. And so we did that for about a half an hour, and then we said, well, we pulled that body out, searched him and stuff, and got any information off him we could, and we just laid him there. And it was a real super foggy day out, real thick fog. And we walked probably another 40 feet, and we come up and we looked, and it was really strange looking. We didn't know what was going on, because all the fog in this one area was pink. And we thought, what in the world is that? So we walks up there to it, and then we noticed we got these spots on us. Well, one of the guys, a new guy, had tripped 105 millimeter artillery round. They're about that big around. They Vietnamese had set that up as a booby trap. He tripped it, and it basically disintegrated him. We found 1 foot and part of his left chest, and that was all we could find of it. The rest of it was all that pink. So we were walking in there, and he was atomized, and boy, it really spooked a lot, you know. We wanted to get out of there as quick as we could.
Honesty Olson, please come to the office.
Him all over us, you know, because it was his skin and blood, intestines, everything, vaporized. And it was part of the fog now. It was not good. We put water on our faces and, you know, just tried to get him off us, you know, but it wasn't nice. Yeah.
What would you say your most horrifying experience back then was? Why shouldn't
We got a call on the radio. We were out on a patrol. Our engineers, combat engineers, were running dump trucks down this road that they had built. It was a dirt road, but they were extending it out. And the Vietnamese, the NBA, had gone out there, would jump on the running boards of the trucks, and then either throw a grenade in there or start shooting them. So they all got together and said, we're not going back out there again. So they sent 5 of us paratroopers over there to that road. And the NBA knew if they came down there, we would hunt her down and kill them. So they never, after that, never attacked again. And like I said, there was only 5 of us. But we had such a reputation, they didn't want to mess with us. We were out there doing that, we got a radio call the Alpha Company, their reconnaissance team, and it was a heavy recon team, had hit a base up there. And a big, huge cave, and it was full of NVA soldiers and equipment. And they were taking a lot of fire and stuff from up there, so they asked for help. We were the closest, so we took off and went up there, made it up to them, and started fighting with them. The only thing was, here, all the way around us were these mountains that were probably 1,000 feet higher than what we were. So when they would get up there, the NVA would get up, they'd shoot right down on top of us. And we had nothing but little rocks and stuff to hide behind. So we went up there, and other platoons were coming, one from Alpha Company and one from us. We were Charlie Company, and our second platoon. And they were coming up, and these guys were coming over, but they got up into the small hills, like those over there, and it was real thick, and it got dark, so they stopped and logged for the night. Told us, you guys, you know, are on your own until tomorrow. We can't do nothing, we can't go through this. So they, brass sent in a captain aboard a helicopter. He jumped off, chopper took off, took fire as it was going out, and he came in and organized us. And they gave us an order that I can remember hearing in movies, war movies and stuff. You know, and I never thought I'd ever hear it for real, you know, I just thought, yeah, that's just movie stuff. And the captain told us as it was getting dark, he says, pick out a spot, fortify it as best you can, and stay there. Don't move, don't go crawling around at night as soon as it gets dark, because it was pitch dark, no movement. And he says, stay there, no rifles will be shot, just lay it down, don't use it. He says, tonight, we're gonna fight with nothing but grenades and knives. So, we sat down there, and all during the night, they, kinda funny because it got dark and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, you're trying to stay awake. And, at one point, I took my knife over there, or wherever it's at, and I says, well, I've seen this in the movies. And you put it under your chin, it keeps you awake, right? I fell asleep and cut my throat. So you know, I punctured it. It ended up bleeding here. So I said, I gotta figure out something else, I can't stay awake. So I took a cigarette, rolled a little bit of the tobacco out, put it in my left eye. Well, it kept me awake. But it was so painful, my eye turned all up, then my right eye turned up. Now I've cut my throat and I'm blinded myself. And I said, this is not going well. And they were crawling around in this, and you'd lay there with your knife and, you know, 5 or 6 grenades are laying out there. And you just waited. You could hear them crawling around, and then all of a sudden you'd felt something, and they'd be crawling across your leg. And then you'd take your knife and you'd fight with them and, you know, do whatever you had to do. And the other guys were doing the same thing all around position. That was pretty tough. We did that until daylight. And then they came in, and then we went out looking for them and stuff. But they seen the other guys coming, and they bamboos, they took off. But we did catch a lot of equipment that was down there, and we kept throwing frags down there. And frag is a fragmentation hand grenade. And we threw them down there to blow it up, kill them, and destroy any equipment that they had stored down there. So we destroyed some of that, and then we found food and rice, you know, bags and ammunition and stuff like that that hadn't blown up that we kept them from getting. So all in all, I guess we did okay, and we stayed alive. So, yeah.
Just one more question.
Sure.
So, so the Vietcong were armed with AK-47s, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever, did anyone in your platoon ever accumulate a supply of them?
No. An AK is a fully automatic weapon, so we weren't allowed to take those as trophies. We also carried what was called an SKS, and that's a semi-automatic rifle. Now, if we captured one of them, we could keep it. You also couldn't keep any American-made equipment, because I've been shot at with M16s, M60 machine guns, grenade launchers, all that. Things that they had captured off the battlefield or stole, bought on the black market. And we couldn't bring any of that stuff home either. But I remember our lieutenant one time had captured a rifle. He says, I got a rifle I can take home. He was from Iowa. And he says, I've got this. And I said, you can't keep that, sir. He says, well, what do you mean? I took it off of the enemy. I said, yes, that's an American-made weapon. That's an M1 or M2 carbine. And M2, the only difference between the two is the M2 has a selector switch up on top. You turn and it makes it full automatic. If it doesn't have one of those on it, then it's an M1 carbine. So, you know, he was disappointed. I showed him on on the rifle where it was stamped, USA and all that stuff, so it was pretty disappointing, but, Anything else? Did I answer your question, or? Okay. Thank you.
What was your least favorite part of the
Digging up bodies. They would, we had intel down that during, it would come up around Tet, is their New Year's, and they would fill all the graves, and like our Memorial Day, where we go out and take care of all the graves and stuff, well, the Vietnamese would do that too around Tet. Usually the end of January, beginning of February. And you'd go in, and here was fresh graves, and they were all nice and packed and stuff. Well, we got intelligence reports down, that they were hiding inside these things, not bodies, but ammunition and grenades and claymores and all that kind of stuff. So we'd have to dig that up to find out if there was, anything there, a body or, so we did that. Then they came down and said, well, now what they're doing is they're putting their stuff in coffins. So now we gotta open the coffin up to see, and some of them had been in there for quite a few years. And some of them, only like 6 months. And then it came down that they found out about that, so they would take the body out, put the grenades and all the ammunition stuff inside the coffin, put the body back on top of it. So now we gotta dig the grave up, open it up, turn the body over. And we did one where we had this big pole and put it in there and popped him open and up, and he broke in two. The body was so decayed that it broke in two, and boy, it was horrible, horrible smell. And then when it came down where, now that new came in there, we had these steel rods. Because now they say they're taking the coffin out and burying this up underneath the coffin. So we had to open the coffin up, check the body, turn the body over, put it back in there, pull the coffin out, take these steel rods and put it down in the ground to see if we could feel anything hard down there. We did that for about a month. I didn't like that.
Did you ever find it?
Yeah, we found ammunition and mostly explosives and stuff. And so, we kept doing it, but man, we hated that. Everybody just hated that.
Did you ever get a tattoo in the war?
No. I never really felt the need to have one, I know some guys did, but I just never did.
What'd you do for fun?
Say again?
What'd you do for fun over there?
On the rare occasions when we'd go into the rear, we'd just get drunk. That's about all we could do. So. Or we went to the Air Force Base, they had nice, beautiful clubs and stuff there. Boy, they had it amazing. And we go in there to the NCO club, we get a complete steak dinner with all the trimmings, and these guys, the Air Force guys could have that every night if they wanted. And we go have hamburgers with all the trimmings, get mixed drinks. We were lucky if we got 3 cheap beer, but that was it.
Air Force is spoiled rotten.
They had a beautiful wooden chapel, just absolutely beautiful. And they had a golf course on their air base, they had the club. Shouldn't be telling you guys this, but they had their own massage parlor.
Jonathan Carlson,
And,
if you're in the building,
You
please
could buy
come to
whiskey
the
and
office.
stuff like that, that were on post, and beer, and, all that. I was talking to one guy one time, and they're one of the Air Force guys, and he said, yeah, I didn't go to work today. I said, what do you mean you didn't go to work today? He said, yeah, I just didn't feel like going in, so I called my supervisor on the phone. He's a civilian, I told him I wasn't coming in today. I said, we tried something like that, they'd shoot us. I couldn't believe the difference between us and them.
Yeah.
Then on that same line, we went to the NCO club one time. They brought us out of the field, put us in trucks, took us down to Phuket Air Force Base. And we got down there, and we got to the desk, and there was an Air Force sergeant in there in civilian clothes, which we thought was strange anyway. We didn't see anybody in civilian clothes. And he comes up there and says, well, you guys gotta turn in your knives. Because a couple weeks ago, these guys came in there, and a couple of them were arguing over who's gonna buy the next round of drinks, and they got in a knife fight. I don't know if that's really true or not. They're probably just screwing around, But anyway, we had to turn in our knives at the desk, and I started going, and I stopped, I said, do you want my frags? And he goes, sure, you better give me that too. So I reached in my fatigue jacket and pulled out a grenade, set that on the desk, reached in the other side, pulled out another grenade, and left that on the side. And he looked at it, and his eyes bummed out like that. And he opened up the drawer, and he went like this, one up at a time, shaking the whole time, put it in the drawer, the other one in the drawer, shut the door real slow like that, you know. And, you know, I just had them in my pocket. And that was my frags that I carried in case, you know, it came to the end and I wasn't gonna be captured, so I used the frags. And I went back out and he gave me my knife and I put it on. And I said, oh, I better get my frags too. He goes, oh yeah. Opens the drawer up, same routine, real slow, one at a time, and put them in. And I looked at him and I looked at the frags and I picked it up, threw it in my pocket, picked that one up, threw it in my pocket, buttoned it down, and left. But, you know, I always thought, I says, I bet that guy for the rest of his life told that story. I was working in the NCO club and this paratrooper walked in and had grenades in his pocket. So, I don't know. I thought it was funny, but.
I mean, it is the Air Force. They have one of the easier jobs in the military, but they're way overfunded.
We laughed because of the aircraft and, you know, billion-dollar airplanes and stuff. But we always said it was the closest thing you could get to a civilian job and still be in the military. But, you know, the pilots and the air crews, you know, that's a lot different, you know, because they have to maintain them aircraft and then the pilots have to fly, you know, into rockets and everything else, you know, missiles.
I don't feel like going into work
So.
today.
Other questions?
Anybody, anything, if I can answer it, will. And these are just my personal experiences. What other people did, stuff I can't talk to, because I don't know what they did. This is just how it affected me and stuff and went on that way.
Do you wanna talk, oh, go ahead, Tony.
Did you know if they actually had to give a reason of not wanting to go into work?
No, he just said he didn't feel like going. And I
think
couldn't
there would've been a
understand that at
reason.
all, you know. That was part of the difference, and his boss, I guess, was a civilian, so, you know, it's hard for me to understand that too.
Did you ever have any happy accidents?
Happy accidents.
Like, whoops, I dropped this frag, but it blows up a.
We had a guy that just made sergeant, and his nickname was Zero. And he just made sergeant because of his time in the Army, time in grade. And he was with this new second lieutenant we had. And getting onto twilight, so they decided between him and the lieutenant, they were gonna pop a flare. And we had these, they were like that, they're silver, you take the lid off, the flare's on this end, you put the cap on the bottom, it's got a little indentation like that, called a slap flare. And you pop it like that, pop flare too. You pop it like that and then shoot the flare up. Well, he popped it, it went up about 10, 15 feet, fell on the ground and ran around on the ground. And I says, that would only happen to Zero. You can't even put a flare up in the air and keep it up. He goes on the ground and runs around like a rat. I felt sorry for him. That was pretty funny. We had another guy that he begged me to walk point. I said, okay. We were in a village and kids were all around and stuff, so I knew that was safe. Because I was gonna be a lot closer to him once we got out of the village, and I might even pulled him off the point. Inexperienced and a little flaky, so didn't really trust him to be there. And I went up there, and I was turning around like this, walking with my rifle in this hand, talking to the guy behind me, because we're in the village, so everything's safe here. And kids are running around and stuff, you know, so I was turning around talking with him. Kelly was the guy's name. And his dad was career Army, but he was like a supply sergeant. And he was playing point man. And took it off safety, put his finger on the trigger, and while he was walking, he fired around. Totally by accident, you know, and that's why I said I didn't want him doing all that stuff, because you never knew what he was gonna do. So he fires this round, and I'm walking, talking to this guy behind me, and the guy behind me said he never saw me move. But he took another step and then stopped, because I was down on one knee, the rifle was now in this hand, pointing where the shot had come from, and I looked at it and I'd taken it off safe, it was on fire. And the guy even behind me said he never saw me move. Said I was walking and then I was down on one knee, says, never saw you move. That's how fast your reflexes were over there. So,
boom down, what does that remind you of? From the book?
Yeah, when,
Oh, when,
when he got shot.
Who's the one who got
When
shot
he
in
went
the
to go
head?
pee.
At the very beginning, Lavender.
Yeah.
And it was always boom down, just that fast, you drop so fast.
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing connections from the book that actually connect to things you're actually telling
You know, when
us.
somebody gets hit in the head, you see them in the movies and they stagger around and goes like that. It's like the ground falls out underneath their legs.
Mhm.
They'll be standing there straight down.
And that's all it is.
That's all it is.
It's just
They get
like-
shot in the head, they go down, straight down. There's no staggering around or nothing, you know, like in the movies and stuff. They hit it down.
Which is like exactly what the
Yeah.
book said.
Yep, like the ground opens up and they straight down.
You ever see someone get shot in the heart?
Yeah. We had one guy that wore his, light bandolier over this week, but he pinned it here, put it through there like that, and they strung across here. He got hit here, and the rounds in the magazine exploded. It shot right into his heart and stuff. And the medics brought him back 3 times, and choppers came in firing gunships, firing rockets into the enemy position. And he heard that and died, you know, shock and stuff, you know, just couldn't survive anymore. But, yeah, that's why I never wore them like that, because I figured you get hit here, you got all that ammunition blowing up, so I didn't like that idea.
Do you want to talk about how your more elite troop that you were part of, platoon, whatever, was different from what we're reading in the book?
Yeah, those guys in that book, I read a little bit of it, and I said, these guys are not airborne. There's no way in the world that we would have done what these guys were doing. They were doing what we call half-stepping, meaning that they were screwing up everything. They weren't alert enough, they didn't act quick enough, they couldn't see what was going to happen before it happened. These guys were pathetic. And we knew they were a low-class leg infantry that didn't have good leadership either. Because the things that they did, I couldn't believe it. I said, that would have never happened in a parachute outfit.
And so part of that is because they were the draftees, and so they were just the grunts, basically?
Some of them were draftees, some of them enlisted, but they just didn't have the training and esprit de corps than what we did.
Okay.
We were held to a much higher standard. We got haircuts either every month or every month and a half. They'd bring a Vietnamese barber out to us and hand clippers, and he'd clip our hair. And then we, you know, shaved every day unless we were in combat. And as soon as combat was over, then we'd shave. But, yeah, all this long hair and all that kind of stuff, that just did not exist.
So
We weren't allowed to do any of that.
we just read the chapter where Kiowa dies, and he's drowning in the poop hole,
Well,
poop
yeah.
field. And Bowker thinks he's alive, but he doesn't get him. How would you have handled that
We
differently?
would have got him immediately and filled
You
him
would
out.
never have left him,
No.
even if you thought he may or may not be dead.
We
You
would
would.
have pulled his body out and taken it with us.
Okay.
There's no way in the world we would have left a guy like that. He's
So-
down, we're going after him, and we're bringing him out. And we always went to the sound of the guns. If we heard gunfire someplace, that's where we went, because that's where the action was at. You know, that's what we were trained to do and what we had to do. With the training and stuff we had, we couldn't do anything else.
Interesting. All right.
Okay.
Good.
What all did you carry in your rucksack? Like anything extra personal?
I carried a writing kit, a razor, a shaving cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, and, we didn't carry a comb because we had no hair. And, so, you know, but we didn't need it. And, then I carried a demolition pack, pound block of C4. I carried extra grenades and, an extra bandolier of 7 magazines. And if I had to drop my ruck and leave it, I'd grab the magazines, you know, the bandolier, take a couple frags, drop another frag in my rucksack there, and blow that up, so that the enemy couldn't use it. We also had a poncho and a poncho liner, and then on the belt, we also had a shovel, entrenching tool it was called. So, the weight that we carried was a lot more than what I have set up here.
Did you carry any pictures with you?
Say again?
Did you carry any pictures?
Yeah, I got pictures here.
What the ones that you carried with you, though?
Oh, no, you mean in my rucksack with family and stuff? No. Some of the guys carried a picture of their wife and kids or something in their helmet. And any of the other pictures, photographs, mail that we got, we'd read it and read it and read it and read it, and then we'd burn it. It was back in like 67, something like that. The mail people, postal service, intercepted a box that was being sent to a family back here in the States. And the enemy had killed this guy, cut his head off, packed it in ice or dry ice in the box, and then mailed it to his family.
Because they found the address or whatever?
Yeah, they had letters on there, so they got the address, so he turned the address off in the letter and mailed it. And that's why they told us, whatever you do, you know, don't get your head set back, you know, burn everything. So we did.
So like in our book, they talk about how they didn't want to be wheelchair bound, like they wanted to be killed if they wouldn't be able to walk again. Did anybody is that like actually how people?
A lot of guys thought that way, yeah. Yeah. But, you know, they get it blown off and we take them, throw them on a chopper anyway, so, you know, we didn't have a whole lot to say about it. But, most of that happened, after they got back and were treated and, you know, whatever. Because when they got wounded and stuff, all they wanted to do was get on a chopper and get back to medical care. But,
Did any of them actually regret living, being in a wheelchair that you know of?
Yeah,
Or they're like, oh, I wish I had just died?
More of that was, they're hit up high around in here and lost certain parts of their body that they could no longer use.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones that were like paraplegic, couldn't move anything.
Anything.
You know, and those were the guys that were most susceptible to trying to kill themselves.
Okay, so now that we've talked about how it was over there for you, tell them how you were treated when you got back. Because so far what we've seen is protesting government. We've seen a lot of the controversy going on about that. But literally, you have a Vietnam soldier right here who's going to tell you how he specifically was treated by civilians when he came back.
Most of them were our own age,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Because the young people.
20s, late teens, some of them even high school, you know, juniors, seniors, and most of them in college age. And they throw things at us and spit on us. You know, I was wearing his uniform and they would spit on me and throw coke and stuff like that at us, splash us, call us all kinds of names, you know. They had all these pretty little girls out there and they were calling us every kind of rotten name you could ever think of. And that's the way we were treated. Now they get parades and stuff like that, and I'm happy to see that, because they treated us like crap.
And so you read, like, I don't know, you see all the anti-war stuff, and they never pinpoint the soldiers, like in the protests with the signs. They're always like, end the war, but they took it out on the troops when the troops came home. There was none of that support our troops like we have today. You know, you don't have to like the war, but we support our troops.
Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't like that. They were
No.
treated like dirt in Vietnam, and then they were treated like dirt when they got home by their friends and family. Not family so much, but.
Do you know why they treated you guys like that?
Propaganda back here in the States. After the Soviet Union fell and they were able to get into the KGB files, the Soviet intelligence outfit, they found out records of them sending money to American Communist Party, other political parties here in the United States. And of course, they denied all this when it was going on, the war and stuff. And we actually have proof now from the 1990s of it actually being true, that the communists did support that to try to disrupt everything. Yes.
So, I know that you guys had to kill children and stuff because they would kill you. Did you ever have to kill any?
No.
No.
And that was a big propaganda thing too, that most of the media brought up. Sometimes they would, the NBA would take children, little kids, give them a grenade, pull the pin on it, put it in the kid's head, and tell them to run up there and throw it in the truck as they were going by. And some of them would do that. We wouldn't shoot the kid, we'd just grab the grenade and try to throw it out, because civilians were wounded or killed when we threw it out. But, you know, we didn't go around shooting nobody like that.
Yeah. Because I understood that they would put the AKs in the mud and then the kids would pull them up and shoot you guys. So.
That, I never heard of that. And I never seen it. And if they stuck it in the mud and stuff like that, they fouled the barrel up, and they tried to fire it with mud in there, the barrel's gonna blow up. So, you know, a lot of that was made up stuff. They had this big thing one time about, these bodies being thrown out. It says these guys took them up in a helicopter, questioned them, and when they didn't get the answers, they throw them out of the helicopter. Well, an aviation crew, helicopter crew, took these bodies up, they were dead. They pulled them up about 200 feet, and then one at a time, so they set up their cameras, and they would toss the bodies out, and they would film them all the way down and stuff. And after they flew out the 2 or 3, the camera crew, CBS News, gave the chopper pilots a box of, it was either Secret 7 or Scotch whiskey, to take the bodies up and throw them out. So they divided the booze up amongst them, and that's all that was. It never actually happened in real life. But they filmed it, and that's the way they reported it. Never happened. All propaganda.
Any last burning questions before we wrap it up?
I'm about talked out, so.
All right, so I would like all of you guys to shake his hand and tell him thanks for coming. On his way out, he'll wait at the door. Obviously, you have to wait till the bell rings.